everybody. This is Ryan McClanahan with HistoryThroughCards.com. Hope you're all doing very well today. This video, I'm going to be doing a review of the 2025 Lucky's Boston show at the Shriners Auditorium, which was held on April 11th. And I only saw one review from Wax Pack Wisdom. I really didn't see anything else, and I was here all 3 days, and it was kind of an interesting show. A lot of the dealers that would have been at this show were, in fact, I think, at the Strongsville show, and there were a lot of reviews of that particular show, which looked really great. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, that looked like a great show, but it was it kind of overshadowed this show, and also the fact that there's a lot of rain and it's kind of nasty outside at the Lucky show here. So a lot of those dealers that probably would have made it here were at Strongsville, because it was actually the same weekend. So things weren't really planned out all that well, I thought. And also the fact that you have an Easter weekend, which just passed as well, which is one of the reasons why I really haven't been able to do any reviews or anything like that, just because these shows really take a number out of you. The floor in particular at the Shriners Auditorium is made out of concrete, and if you're on your feet 8 hours a day, that concrete floor can really do a number on you. So, I don't think it matters how old you are either. And just a side note, if you go into the National, I would probably suggest just packing a couple of extra pairs of socks. I don't think it could hurt. But anyway, so here you see the front entrance of the Shriners Auditorium. What I think happened last year was that first booth was where you got your autograph ticket, and then you had to go to either the other two booths here to purchase the ticket to go into the show. And it was $15 to get into the show, which is it's kind of steep, actually. The first day I arrived was Friday, and to tell you the truth, it was kind of dead. There were it was kind of wide, so you could move around very easily. And some shows you actually can't do that. But a lot of the dealers were complaining, or maybe not complaining, but making observations that a lot of the crowd and a lot of the dealers were actually at Strongsville. And again, there were a lot of videos on Strongsville, and only one that I've noticed for this particular show. I think this used to be a fairly decent show in the past. So one thing I'm noticing here in these photos are the prices for vintage, and this had a mixture of probably, I don't know, 60 to 70% vintage to modern, and I'm not really a modern guy, so I don't know what is supposed to be paid for modern cards. If maybe it's if you feel comfortable with the price of the card, but other than that, I'm not entirely sure, and I don't really feel comfortable telling you guys what you should be paying for some of these cards. Now, obviously here you have a 1986 Topps Steve Young for $1,200. And it's in a 9, and the rest of these are 10s. I don't know what you should be paying for these cards, but I definitely know that you can buy a really nice copy of Steve Young, his rookie card, for like $20. So I think that's overkill. Are you gonna get your money back from any of this stuff? That's the one thing you guys have to ask yourself before you purchase. And a lot of these cards here, they have been here before. I've seen these cards before, especially the Cracker Jacks. One of my concerns here, I think it's getting to be a universal concern with a lot of YouTubers, dealers, collectors, is theft of these cards. And last year at the Greater Boston Sports Collectors Convention, which is usually held in late October, early November, is that there was a 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson that was lifted out of a case that was supposed to be closed. I believe that the one of the dealers said that it was locked. Now, they never found that card. It's kind of like showing these cards at your own risk as a dealer, and we have definitely seen where you've had $2 million heists of these cards, and I know two of the cards are from one of them is they're gone. They haven't been seen since, and I think one of them was a 41 play ball Ted Williams. I'm never going to tell you guys what you should do with with your money and how to spend it. I mean, that's up to you. But so one of my concerns is that I've seen these Cracker Jack cards for several years now. They're the same ones that I've been reporting on for the last 3 to 4, maybe 5 years. And you have to know your clientele, the people who are walking in to the show, and kind of understand as a dealer that it may be the wrong type of collector that are coming in. Are they going to be able to purchase these cards, or are you just bringing them there to kind of like as a museum or show and tell? Okay, I think I can get that, but if you're bringing in, say, $18,000 cards or $12,000 cards, or even $2,000 cards, what are the chances that you're going to find the right person at the right time at the right place with $2,000 on them? I just think you're kind of like playing with fire in a way. There's no guarantee that your cards aren't going to get stolen. I don't think it's a very good idea, but that's just me. This one here is really kind of interesting. Jake Stahl's 1909 11 American Caramel. This actually is a short print. In fact, I've never actually seen this card, although Jake Stahl does have a T205. He may even have a T206. However, I think in this case that this card is a short print because it was pulled from production, because he already signed a contract with the American Tobacco Company. That is my only guess as to why this particular card is short printed. But it is a very nice card. Again, we go back to you have collectors come in with $2,000 to purchase this particular card. And again, it depends on the region as well. So some of these cards that I'm looking at are, again, not rare, but they're expensive, and there's a lot of them, particularly 1950s and 1960s cards. I don't know of a whole lot of rare 1950s cards out there, and these Johnny Busick rookies from 1957 Topps, there's 3 of them, and the dealer has them at about $600 to $1,200 a piece. Another one for $500, and then he's got the Derek Sanderson rookie for 300 and another for 800. Derek Sanderson is not in the Hall of Fame. So one is a 6 and another one is 8. So essentially what you're paying for is the condition. Rookie card is not rare, but again, same with Johnny Busick. He is in the Hall of Fame, and it's a very, very nice card. I actually purchased this card back in November for, I want to say it was like $140 or something, which sounds like a lot of money, and actually that still is. But it's considerable because it's a little off center, and I think there was some writing on the back. The thing you want to look out for, though, if you actually are going for Busick's rookie, and again, he is still alive. He's about 90 years old, which is awesome. But there's a lot of snow associated with this card because of the red. And red is kind of like a difficult color for a lot of reasons. A lot of these cards have print streaks on them too, and print bubbles. But other than that, it's a very nice card. And then the 1981 Joe Montana, which happens to be one of my favorite modern football cards. I really love this card. He's got it at $230. It's a near mint 7. And that's actually quite steep right now for that card. You guys could pick that card up a lot cheaper. But way back in the day, when Joe Montana was playing, that was on everybody's want list. Just because he is in the Hall of Fame, he's got all those Super Bowl championships, and he's just an amazing player. That card was forged quite extensively back in the 1980s when he was playing. And I'm not entirely convinced that there aren't forgeries still out there that may actually be graded. There are ways to tell, though, a forged card like this, and say like the 1982 Topps Cal Ripken Jr. So the Mario Lemieux 1985 Topps or OPC. In fact, I think the OPC is one of the most forged hockey cards of the 1980s as well. So I'd be kind of careful. If you guys haven't seen any of the forgeries and what to look for, and this is one of the reasons why I like to go to card shows, just to do research and look at the cards. I always take photos, and I take notes extensively. I try to do as much research as possible before I go to a show. But there's always that thing where you go to a show expecting to see something or buy something, and then there's something completely unexpected that you didn't even think of, that wasn't even on your radar. And that was here as well. So a lot of these cards that we see here, like the Mario Lemieux rookie and the Joe Montana, they really speak to a certain generation, my generation, in fact, Gen X. When I was a kid, I obviously couldn't afford those cards. They were on a lot of want lists, including mine, but they were just so out of reach and so expensive at the time. And seeing this now at $110, that to me is very affordable for this card and who Mario Lemieux is. And I still think he's very, very popular and still very relevant. And I want to say he's got to be like the only player and only owner to have 2 championships, Stanley Cups. As such, I don't know of any others, but again, I could be wrong, and I'm not always right, which is good. However, because if I was always right, that would make a very boring life, I think. Anyway, so I do think that there were some good deals at this show, and some dealers obviously they have their cards priced so exorbitantly that like they're not going to sell these cards. And here's another example too. Some of these are actually quite rare, and it would be really a shame if they got lifted. And you can see here you got the T206 Ty Cobb red background for $7,300. Right next to it, you have a 1912 Honest Long Cut T227. That's the Champions Series Ty Cobb. You never see this. That's a very, very difficult card, and it's a beautiful card too. The whole set is actually. He's got that for $5,500 in a 1. And then right below it, he's got the 1933 DeLong Garrigan. I actually did a fairly lengthy article on DeLong. And DeLong himself, he is from Massachusetts. Harold C. DeLong. It was really fun to actually do research on him and on that set. And it's an incredible set in itself. It's a short set, but good luck trying to complete it. I only have 2 of those cards in my collection after 30 years. That's it. And it's a Massachusetts set, with Massachusetts connections. And then right next to it, you have the 1952 Bowman Mickey Mantle. And I know I take really lousy pictures, but again, this goes back to knowing your clientele, and nobody is buying these cards here at this show. I can guarantee that. Same with the Babe Ruth as well that I showed you guys. I mean, I've seen that both of those Babe Ruth cards for the last couple of years, so they haven't moved, and sometimes that kind of tells you that you're pricing cards too high, or you just don't want to sell. And if that's the case, why bring the card to a show? That's just how I feel about this stuff. I love seeing rare cards, but at the same time, as a dealer, you just got to be very careful about bringing these cards too. It is impressive to see them, but you are taking a risk. $7,000 for a 1909 E95 Philadelphia Caramel Ty Cobb. Again, a beautiful card, but nobody is going to walk in the door with $7,000. I hardly ever. This is not the National, and that may happen at the National, but not at a show like this. Again, guys, I've said it once, I've said it 3 times now, but leave these cards at home. Here's something you don't really see every day either, is the 1967 Venezuelan Brooks Robinson. Normally this is a very rare or very difficult card in the Topps set from 1967, and I've covered this particular card in a video, and who doesn't love Brooks Robinson? This is really interesting because I've never really seen this particular card before, so I think the rarity is quite different when you're talking about Venezuelan cards. And Topps started to do business in Venezuela in about 1959 or so. One of the Shorin brothers, I forget which one, he actually died from an illness that he acquired in Venezuela. And so they actually did business, Topps did, from the late 1950s, and I think the last Venezuelan Topps set came out in like 1968 or 69 or so, around there. But they're very popular cards, and the conditions down in Venezuela and in Cuba and Central and South America are not good for any kind of card or a paper ephemeria at all. So the funny thing is that you actually have American baseball cards down in Central and South America, which I think is kind of interesting, just because promotes baseball and obviously tops and chewing gum. But I'm wondering if any of those fans, if you will, ever knew who the player was. Could they actually watch a game down in Venezuela from the States? I'm not entirely sure about that. I mean, again, you're talking over now, what, 55 years plus? Another thing I really kind of enjoyed was seeing this. This is a 1941 play ball set. You don't really see that often. It's a great set. They're great cards, and for the most part, it is fairly affordable. The Ted Williams here in 1941 was a great year for Ted Williams, and obviously it was a great year for baseball as well. And probably one of the greatest years for baseball, I would think, just prior to World War II. But you can pick up some really nice cards in that set fairly cheaply, and they won't break the bank, except for, Ted Williams has gone up quite a bit, and the Pee Wee Reese rookie. And if you're going by the rookie being the first appearance of player on a card, this actually technically would not be Pee Wee Reese's rookie. That would be a 1940 picture pack. And I know, certain people don't like to hear that. If that's in fact correct, again, this, I guess, would be his rookie if depending on how you believe a rookie would be. And a lot of people think that it's a rookie card has to have, or a card has to have the insignia, and it has to go through the players union. But in 1940 there was no players union. That wouldn't have occurred until 1966 with Marvin Miller, or 1967, and then he made a deal with Topps in 1968 or so. It's all baseball history, right? And so this is really interesting too. I mean, if I'm a really big fan of Tris Speaker here. You don't see that particular card very often. I think I've seen it 2 or 3 other times. And right next to it, you got Babe Ruth, which is authentic. And I didn't even see a price on those two. Here's the $5,500 for the Lou Gehrig. Just because you have the money for something doesn't mean that it makes a whole lot of sense to purchase the card. Here's the 1934 Gowdy Lou Gehrig number 37, and I think that's one of the nicest looking cards in that set, and in the 1930s. It's just such a great card. It is one of my favorites. And then again, if anybody says that 1933 Gowdies are rare, no, they're not rare. They were made in the millions. And the 1933 Gowdy Babe Ruth, and I want to say that is number 144. That's a double print, and I've actually heard it's a triple. Now, I definitely think it's a double print. But that's a fantastic image of Babe Ruth, and it's in one of his last years as a major leaguer. Obviously, he was signed by the Boston Braves in February of 1935, and that blew up in the Braves' face, and it was an embarrassment on Babe Ruth. And then you also see here a 1935 Gowdy. And I did actually see quite a number of 1935 Gowdies. These look great if they're in near mint condition, but they do have their issues. And one of them, I think, is the back of the card is a puzzle, and also chipping of that red border as well. But I only have a few of them. They are kind of difficult to find, but other than that, you do have some others here too that are really nice. The red background Babe Ruth is quite nice as well, And I've heard from a lot of collectors that their least favorite Babe Ruth card in that set is the green background. It's actually of Babe Ruth sitting in the dugout with the bat. And, it's not my favorite, I tell you. But if somebody had a Babe Ruth that they were willing to sell and that was it, I'm like, beggars can't be choosers. But again, I'm not going to sit there and spend 16 grand or 10 grand on a card, or 11. I think that's crazy. I truly do. There's another one here for $19,000, which is the 1921 W314 hand cut. Again, I'm not going to say it again, but you guys know exactly what I'm thinking. And this is the same thing right here. 1949 Bowman, Jackie Robinson. I actually had this card in my collection for decades and decades. And I'll tell you guys at some point what happened, which I'm not thrilled about. But I purchased this card at the 2003 National in Atlantic City for $175. Everything's relative when it comes to value, but that was still an affordable card. Jackie Robinson was still very affordable up until a couple of years ago, and same with Hank Aaron, especially his rookie card. You could purchase a Hank Aaron rookie for about $400 prior to the pandemic. And for Jackie Robinson here, there was a belief among a lot of older collectors and dealers like myself, where you could purchase Jackie Robinson's cards, sell the Robinson. So, like, for example, I paid $60 for a 56 Topps Jackie Robinson, thinking that I could buy another one for about the same as I purchased it, because again, 1950s cards are not rare. But Jackie is someone who transcends baseball. Yeah, he does. He does, and I'd say Yogi Berra and Phil Rizzuto at this point. Even in football, you have some players that do. Frank Gifford, for example. But Jackie Robinson in 1949, he won the MVP. So a lot of collectors and dealers, they love this card. It's not my favorite, but it is Jackie Robinson. And I was just really kind of shocked that, his value has gone up extensively. To the point really where if you have any of these cards that I'm showing you, say $10,500 Jackie Robinson here, or any of these particular cards, the first thought you're probably thinking is, oh, I'm going to sell these cards, that I have. Well, that may be a good thought, but, first off, you have to have the right person at the right time at the right price to purchase these cards that you may have. And second off, what happens later on down the road is you're maybe thinking, well, I want that card back. So that's kind of an impossibility. I'll put it to you this way. If I were to if I had to rebuy my collection today, if I had to repurchase it, I couldn't do that. The majority of my collection is too expensive to purchase again. If I were to sell it, which I'm not going to do, it's not about the money for me, but I would feel horrible. I really would. My collection is not about the money. It's not why I collect cards. I do so for various reasons. For me, it's a fun hobby, but it's getting less and less fun. So I heard from a collector who was talking to a dealer where he said that the hobby is no longer fun because of the amount of money that people are charging for cards, and he was really thinking of getting out of it because of that. I've heard that from a few people, in fact, that they're being outpriced or in the hobby, and they just can't afford it anymore. And the other thing I had noticed too, and I'm showing you guys this trash barrel for her reason. I was talking to a dealer here by the name of Dave, really great guy. He had told me that he saw kids dumping cards into this trash barrel, and I had heard that before from some dealers, but I was like, oh, I mean, come on, guys, right? I mean, that would never happen. But I saw this firsthand. On the second day, I saw a couple of kids dump their cards into this trash barrel, and a lady came over and took them out, and I don't know what she did with them, but I couldn't believe it. That would never have happened when I was a kid. We would never think of dumping cards. So again, there were some really good deals at this show. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that everything was super expensive, but you had to kind of like search. And again, there was some modern stuff here. And this is actually 1999 Topps Tech Gold. I've never seen these. I thought these were really cool. And, you know, I'm not solely just vintage. I do like some modern, but it's few and far between. Now, I never saw these back in the 90s. I never saw these. This is the first time I've ever seen these. And from what I've heard from a couple of dealers was that 90s inserts, especially baseball and basketball, are really, really popular now. They're really taking off. And one thing I do remember about the 90s, and my memory of that decade is very hazy for reasons that we won't go into right here, but I do remember that the card companies were using a certain resin on the cards, and what it's done over the last 25 years or so is it's turned them into bricks. So like it's, you know, in hot weather, it just bricked the cards, or you know, it's just warped them and it's turned them into trash. So you know, now I can kind of understand where some of these inserts and some of these cards are getting more difficult to find. And you know, some of the designs are really neat as well. And I am a design guy. I went to college for design, which has come in handy when it comes to the sports card industry. I also like the designs of certain 80s and 70s and 60s cards and 50s, and for me personally, because I really don't like the glitz and the glitter of modern cards. I like the simple designs, like say 1983 Flair. Very, very simple design, but I like it, and it's all really your preference, what you like in your collection. Your collection really says a lot about you as a person. And the 1954 Bowman here is really a simple design, but it's and again, I don't have a lot of these, and I'll show you more. In fact, I'll show you some of my pickups. And the 1960 top set here, I really like the 1960. It's got a great design, I think, a great colors schemes, and great photography as well. 3,300. Tell you the truth, that's a lot of money. You could probably find a set a little bit cheaper, but yeah, I mean, I saw a few sets out there. The 57 Topps basketball that they had here was really neat as well. A lot of Hall of Famers in that particular set. Overall, this was not a bad show, I think. There were some good deals. It could have been better. It could have been scheduled better, actually. They probably should have scheduled the show a week prior to the Strongsville show. And I think Strongsville really put a dent in this particular show. And also you had Easter, which is, you know, now coming past this week. So that's kind of difficult, I think, for a lot of the collectors and dealers who are traveling. I didn't really see any YouTubers that were covering this show except for Jake from Wax Pack Wisdom and I just met him at this show over on in Sunday, and I introduced him to a card that I was actually looking at prior. That was the 1911 T205 Tris speaker, and I actually saw him kind of filming some Cracker Jacks, and I kind of told him, hey, there's a card over at Matt's table, and I think you might want to take a look at it. And I really was looking at that card myself to purchase it, but then I figured, it's a little bit out of my price range, what I feel comfortable in, and it just was a no-go. But he was looking at it, and he was telling me that he had a Tris speaker in his collection that he had sold, and I kind of thought that this would be a perfect card for him. So he and Matt made a deal, and this was actually the deal. And I'm really happy that he was able to acquire this particular card. And again, I did a lot of business with Matt back in November, and I picked up some really, really great cards. And I also did this time too. So what I'm gonna do is show you some of my pickups from this show, and here we go. So I picked up the 1956 Topps Pee Wee Reese, and I had this card years and years ago, and what seems to happen is that I'll pick up a card, and when I did buy and sell cards, mostly to pay for college, I had this card and I sold it, and I was never able, for whatever reason, to actually go and purchase another one. So I actually did get this card, and I would say it's in very good, excellent condition. It's fine for my purposes. I did a video on Pee Wee Reese not too long ago, and he looks like Mike Myers, the actor, in this photo, which I think is quite interesting. But I'm a big fan of Pee Wee Reese, and I don't have all of his cards, but I really wanted this, and I picked it up for $25, in fact, so like $10 off of the sticker price here, and that was just fine by me. Not every card in your collection has to be a 9 or a 10, and I can't even tell the difference between a 9 and a 10 anyway. But and that's a whole different discussion in itself. But let me just get this out of here. I don't recommend that you guys do this often, but it's not a bad looking card, I think. It's a little blurry here, guys, but again, I like the 1956 Topps set, and I think when I'm at the National, I'm going to try to look for a 56 Topps Jackie Robinson or a Mickey Mantle. I know that's probably a tall order, but again, Pee Wee Reese is one of those guys that I think really helped Jackie Robinson in the way that Flash Gordon helped Larry Doby. And, again, both, Larry Doby and Flash Gordon they're in the Hall of Fame, but their stories really haven't been told adequately. They're kind of play second fiddle to Jackie Robinson and Pee Wee Reese here. But again, you could buy cards at this show fairly affordably if you looked and if you negotiated properly, and that's one thing that I think that the hobby can teach you is to negotiate or hone in on your skills. And so here's another card that I picked up, and I was like, what is this? Obviously, the Rolling Stones. You know, I like the Rolling Stones up to a point. They were never really my favorite band. I know they've been around for 60 years. So obviously they've got to be doing something right. This I've never seen this, and I was like, what is this? And it ends up being a fan club promotion. As you guys, I don't know if you guys can see that. It's a little blurry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm testing out something new here, and it's not quite working out in my favor. But it says start a Rolling Stones fan club. Write to the Rolling Stones National Fan Club, P.O. Box 1525, Brooklyn, New York 11202. And that actually tells me that this was to 1965, because that was the first year that they had zip codes. So again, I wanted something of the Rolling Stones, and this was it. The guy had a few other Rolling Stones stuff there, and some other pop music cards, and one of those was it's a Dale Bozzio card from 2022 from Leaf. Yeah, so I did pick this card up. I thought it was really interesting. I've actually never seen this particular card at a show or anywhere else for that matter. But I will be doing a specific video on Dale Bozzio and Missing Persons because it happens to be one of my favorite bands from the early 1980s, and I'm sure there are a lot of songs that you guys probably know from Missing Persons. And again, spoiler alert here, but she is from Massachusetts. So that to me was another plus. Another card that I was looking for quite a number of years. Whoop. God, this thing sucks. No, it doesn't suck. I suck. Okay. So another card that I was looking for a number of years is the 1952 Bowman Crazy Legs, or Elroy Hirsch. This was really kind of difficult for me to try to find a decent copy. It is actually, I think, quite expensive. In fact, I didn't pay a whole lot for it. I think I paid like $30, but for me and Bowman, that is kind of expensive. I usually have never paid more than $30 or $40 per Hall of Famer. Most of the Hall of Fame cards that I have of the Bowman run from like 50 to 1953 were like 10, 15, 20 bucks. Sometimes for a major Hall of Famer it'd be like 40, but this card has been quite expensive over the last couple of years. And you know, Bowman, at least football and baseball, but particularly with football, the artwork in these cards are just really amazing. They did a really great job over at George Mall Advertising Agency from Abington, Pennsylvania. They had the contract for about 20 years with Gum Inc. and Bowman. And obviously, if you know, Gum Inc. changed their name to Bowman in 1944. And that was a year after Bowman closed its doors, I think mysteriously, in fact, in 1943. But I do want to actually write a book about Bowman at some point. I'm still stuck with the 3-volume T205, T206, and T207. So the back of it, I'll show you. Looks like this. Obviously, you guys have seen these, I'm sure. But there seems to be a little bit of a gum or wax. That's like a wax stain right there. But it's pretty clean other than that. The artwork is really fantastic with these, and he is in the Hall of Fame. So The other card I had a real difficult time with him in particular was the 1951 Bowman. That took me forever to try to find a copy of. And I also picked up this particular card right here. This is the #1 card in the 52 set. And again, both of these cards, there's a large and a small. I do have a large copy of this particular card of Norm Van Brocklin, a Hall of Famer. And again, I did a video on him. And I really, really enjoy this card. I love the artwork in it. I really like everything about this particular card. I've never got the small for whatever reason. I've never owned it, but I've had the large for a very long time, and I think I picked that one up for like $40. I'll have to check my notes on that. The other thing too, guys, you might want to track how much you pay for your cards. I've been keeping track of everything that I have had in my collection. So the large can be quite expensive, and there's a lot of short prints in that set just because of the way they cut off. I guess the rows, they had to cut certain rows of cards. I think maybe because they had to recalibrate the presses to get the sheets to fit, and I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. It probably is. So anyway, this is the #1 card in the set. #1, as you can see here. There's a little bit of a gum stain again, but for $30, I thought this was a really, really good price. And for my purposes, I don't need my cards to be in near mint condition. And sometimes that's not going to be the case at all. Sometimes you need to buy the card when you can, because either it is too expensive normally, or it's just extremely rare. And sometimes, for me, I would rather have the card and then see if I can upgrade later on. Sometimes that's just not the case and won't be possible. And so with this card here, I bought this from a gentleman by the name of Charlie, who I've done business with for, probably 20 years. And as you guys can see from this photo here, he's got a lot of great lower grade cards at great prices, and he's always great to do business with. And again, I may be biased here because I've done business with him for such a long time, that he's always been fair and honest with his sales, and he does have great stuff. And if you just want a card or a player just to say you have one, well, he's your dealer that you want to talk to. And so I've always had really great luck with him. But I was able to pick up this Bob Feller from the 1954 Bowman set. And I'm a big fan of Bob Feller. I knew Bob Feller for a long time, actually. I first met Bob in 2001 in person. I had done some artwork for him, in fact, on several occasions, and I just had a great time talking with him, and I really wanted to learn a lot about his career. And a lot of people had said he was really difficult to do to deal with. Bob Feller was, but I never found that to be the case, and he was a wealth of information. In fact, when I did first meet him, I really couldn't believe that Bob Feller was at a show. In fact, he was the first retired ball player to do shows in 1974. So he would actually crisscross the country in his car to do shows. Some of his cards are not that cheap. unfortunately, but this one seems to be very popular. And for whatever reason, I was never able to get a hold of it. The 1951 Bowman that you saw in that photo, that has been on a lot of want lists as of late, and it's gotten quite expensive. And same with the 1952 Bowman. Now, I don't have a complete run of Bob Feller's cards. That 1938 Gowdy Heads Up, a lot of people say that that is his rookie, and it actually is not. The 1937 Gowdy, I want to say it's the premium there that Gowdy had. That's his first card, so I would consider that his rookie card. But the 1938 Gowdy is extremely popular, and it is quite nice. And then he's got a 1938 Dixie Lid Premium, which is just absolutely fantastic. And I've actually had 2 copies of that, and I was going for the sets, both of those sets from 1937 and 38. But there's a few, I think 2 of those premiums are just exorbitantly expensive. But I'll show you the back of this card. It looks like this right here. And I did pick up another Bowman card. Now, I did want to show you real quickly another card that I picked up that was not a part of the show, but the Larry Doby here. Larry Doby really has, I don't think he's received the love that he should yet compared to Jackie Robinson. But the 1954 Bowman, I don't have a whole lot of these cards. I do have specific memories of a 54 Bowman Duke Snider that I'll probably get into in another video because it taught me a pretty good lesson. So this card is off-center quite a bit on the back here, as you can see. But I didn't see a whole lot of Larry Doby's cards at the show. In fact, there were specific cards that I was looking for at the show, and I didn't see, which kind of surprised me because every once in a while I'll go maybe a show or 2 or maybe even 3 of not seeing a specific card or a specific player, and then all of a sudden I'll see a lot of the cards or a lot of that specific player, particular player at a show. And so this right here, I picked this card up from Matt from Providence. And again, I had some really great deals with Matt prior and during November. And I picked up a lot of, Grail cards, Grail for me. Anyway, at that show, I was actually really surprised to pick it up. It was not on any of my lists. And I only have 2 Mickey Mantle cards in my collection. He had a great selection of cards, and I think at some point I will be interviewing Matt on my channel. I hope to do that at his convenience, of course. But this has like a staining like right here. It looks like a tape stain. But other than that, I think it's a really nice card, a nice copy. I spent quite a bit for it, considering it is Mickey Mantle, and Mickey Mantle is one of those generational players that a specific generation really went after, and a specific person, I think, really jacked up the price of Mickey Mantle's cards. And obviously that would be Alan Mr. Mint Rosen, who tried to corner the Mickey Mantle market back in the late 1970s and early 80s. A lot of people do like this particular card, and some people don't, just because I don't know if you guys can see this, but Topps airbrushed out the person over here. There is a person over here, and we're not entirely sure who that is. It could be a groundskeeper. I'm gonna have to put this under a microscope, I think, to try to figure out if what else I can find. So I do have a digital microscope that I do put my cards under for investigative purposes. But a lot of people either like this card or they don't like it, and particularly because of the fact that there is somebody here that is, been airbrushed out of the photo. I still really like this card. I like the 1956 Mantle quite a bit. That was a card that was affordable prior to the pandemic, and now it's gotten quite expensive. This card has gotten a little on the expensive side too. I think it's kind of maintained its value over the last 10, 15 years or so. It's again, Mickey Mantle is a player that the baby boomers really loved, and they would have followed Mickey Mantle's career, unlike say mine, because I wasn't even born yet, and Mickey Mantle was a guy that I had always heard about from older generations, and they would have seen him play, unlike myself. But I did pay quite a bit for this particular card. Do I regret it? Not really. Even though it's probably, I wouldn't even guess. It's other than the fact that it has a tape stand here, it's still a really nice presentable card, and a lot of collectors and YouTubers would say that eye appeal matters more when you're dealing with vintage, because you can have a 2 or a 1 and the eye appeal would be fine, compared to maybe a 6 or a 7, where it's off center. And with vintage, I think more and more that makes sense, that the eye appeal trumps really anything else. This card is it's also off center too. I don't care, to tell you the truth. Sometimes it bothers me, sometimes it doesn't. And I'll show you one card. Again, I didn't buy this card at the show, but this card here is a 1963 Menko. It is Sadaharu O, and it's not a card that you see often. But Sadaharu O is on a lot of want lists. I think Mike from Junk Wax Hero picked up a card of his quite recently, his rookie card. Congratulations, Mike. It's a really great card. And that's a card that he always wanted, a card of Sadaharu O, and Sadaharu O's cards are out there. Now, I didn't buy this there. I've only seen Sadaharu's cards at a show once. That was it. But this particular card, and I think a lot of these cards, are hand cut. So my reasoning for showing you this is that a lot of collectors, they're really bothered by hand cut cards, or cards that are off center quite a bit, or in this case, this particular card can be off registration quite a bit too, and this isn't. And I'll show you the back of it just in case you guys have never seen this. But I found a lot of cards on eBay that are cheaper than going to a show, and really kind of maybe vice versa as well. There's a lot of, and that's where this card came from. This card came from eBay. Now, I mean, I didn't pay a whole lot for that card, surprisingly, but this card right here, I've seen on eBay and at the show. In fact, it's been quite expensive, really expensive, in fact, and where it wasn't before. In the 1952 tops, they're not rare cards. The first series was double printed, and that's where you get the red and the black background now, or the red and the black back. And so this card has really kind of been very elusive for me for the past 30 years. And Monte Irvin was another ball player that I knew quite well. And, our conversations were generally not about baseball. They were about other things. And I'll keep those to myself. But I really unintentionally have, over the last number of years, done a player run on Monte Irvin here, which I really didn't realize that's what I was doing, because if I saw a Monte Irvin card, I would just pick it up. And so the only Monte Irvin card that I'm missing from 1951 through 1956, his major league career lasted from 1949 through 1956, and he had an amazing Negro League career in which he batted, I believe, 398 lifetime, and that's with the statistics that we already have. So he really is an underrated batter. Probably one of the best batsmen of the Negro Leagues when he played for the Newark Eagles. But I don't have his 1951 Bowman or his 1953 Bowman, and I did see a 51 Bowman for like $125. That card has been quite expensive, actually, compared to his 51 Topps. I like his 51 Topps much better because, unfortunately, it's not a very good pose in that 1951 Bowman. But with this card, it's a 1.5, and it's centered very well. And I'm like, what's kind of wrong with it? And I don't know if you can pick this up, but there's some very light creasing along right here. And again, with this particular card, you can get a lot of like snow and stuff in here, just because it's kind of like the darker the areas, the more snow will start to pick up, and that's actually the ink lifting off the card, which makes a lot of sense. And this card has some fuzzy edges, but I have some fuzzy edges too. So I was okay with the way this card looks. Now, what I wasn't okay with was the price, and the guy wanted $50, and he said he had looked at comps, and again, I have a hard time with that. Probably because I'm old school and because Beckett really no longer exists. You have a specific set of prices for graded cards and then one for raw cards. And I don't know of any other industry where that is the case, where you have two sets of prices for the same exact item. It's very odd to me. And maybe that's because I'm an old school guy. But I really kind of don't understand that. So he had $50 on this, and I would have been comfortable with like 25 or 30 even, but $50, I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And I mean, again, this is a card that I really wanted for forever, just because it's Monte Irvin, and it's a really great looking card. And so I came back several times to that table, and the card was still there, and I finally relented, and I was like, okay, like 50, that's fine. I tried mightily to try to lower the price, but again, there was no budging on that card, and sometimes you have to feel comfortable with the card and the price, and it's growing on me. I like the card, and it's for me it's a memory of my time with Monte Irvin, and really that's kind of like what it is, and I like Monte Irvin's story as well. This was from Matt from Providence, and it wasn't on my radar. And again, this is a card that I have seen dozens and dozens of times. It's on a lot of people's want lists. Everybody seems to want it because again, Al Kaline. The funny thing is that I was actually looking for a 55 Bowman Al Kaline, and so I came across this, and I made a deal. My feeling on it is odd, and maybe I spent a little bit too much for it, for a 1.5. But again, it does have a nice crease, and that's probably why Matt gave me the card for the price he did. This is such a classic card. It is for a lot of people a Grail card, and I like Al Kaline. I like his career and his story, and his rookie card is one of the top cards in the 1954 set. Will I upgrade this card? I actually may. I usually don't upgrade cards. In this case, I may in fact actually upgrade the card. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with this particular card because it was a spur of the moment kind of deal. I saw it and he gave me the price, and I was like, okay, fine. The problem with a lot of these 54 Bowmans are the corners and the centering. Usually it's top to bottom, and usually the Ernie Banks is the one that gets it the most, where the lettering is usually off. In this case, it's not. Everything looks fairly good, but what really kind of gets me, and if you're a new collector to vintage or to 1954, when I first started in the vintage hobby and I saw this particular card or these cards, I thought that there was supposed to be a border on the top, and there is no border on that top. This is also a set that Joel Shorin, the then president of Topps, really didn't like. This was a set that Cy Berger designed. He designed it along with Woody Gelman, and Joel Shorin didn't like this set. He really despised it, and it's a set that almost didn't happen. They had to fight tooth and nail to try to get this set off the ground, if you will, and into production. So a lot of collectors and dealers love this set. I do too. In fact, I really do like the 54 Topps, and I really wanted Al Kaline's rookie because I have a number of his cards over the years. So I picked that up as well. And then I also picked up this card from Matt as well, and I gave this a day. I saw a few of these cards, and he had a number of these cards, the 57s, especially the Mickey Mantles. He had a whole table filled with Mickey Mantle cards, but he also had a lot of Willie Mays cards, and I think I'm only missing 2 Hall of Famers from the 57 Top set, and this is one of them. So I think now I'm only missing, I'm missing the Yogi Berra, the Eddie Matthews, and the Warren Spahn, and that's it. But I always really liked this card, and I'm a big fan of Willie Mays. So I picked this up, and it was actually very affordable for it's a 3, and I paid $160 for it. So, again, Matt, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's off center. I don't care about that. That's fine for me. Again, it's all about eye appeal, and this is a another classic that's on a lot of people's want lists, and I'll show you the back of it. Looks like that. Again, guys, I'm trying something a little bit new here with this, and I'm not really digging the style that I'm doing here, but I'm not going to change it now. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out at some point. But yeah, this was fantastic. And then I also picked up another Willie Mays card, and it's this right here. And ever since I was first getting into vintage, I always wanted this card, and it was expensive even 30 years ago. Sometimes you could pick it up for like $140 or so, but it was always on a lot of people's want lists. Everybody wants this card. Well, maybe not everybody, but I certainly do, and I know a lot of other people do. So I picked this up for... Oh, it was expensive. I want to say it was like $260 and 2.5. I think I have it written down somewhere exactly what I paid for it. It was a little more expensive than I would have thought about paying maybe a year or two ago. But I decided to bite the bullet, and again. The borders on these particular cards can be a little bit difficult. I'll show you the back. It's like, so I'm very happy with the card itself, even though like it is a little off center. Sometimes beggars can't be choosers, right? So you have to kind of deal with what's in front of you and what you can afford. And again, I did see a few of these, but the ones that I saw were extremely expensive compared to what I paid for this. So that's one thing I had to take into consideration. And so I have a number of Willie Mays cards that I really enjoy. Willie Mays' his stuff. So, guys, here's the thing about this show, is that there were some decent cards out there. It wasn't as bad as previous years where everything was just off the table because it was so expensive. You could pick up really nice stuff fairly cheaply, but for the most part, I think things are still a little out of whack. When it comes to value, and again, that could scare away a lot of collectors who want to get into vintage and can't, just because of the price. And for me, I tend to think that I'm getting priced out of the hobby, especially the pre-war stuff. And again, I feel kind of fortunate. I guess I was at the right place at the right time. To pick up a lot of pre-war and a lot of vintage back in the 90s and early 2000s or mid 2000s when things were a lot more cheaper and affordable for the average collector. This show was not bad. The drawback was a lot of dealers were at Strongsville, and I've never been to Strongsville, so I couldn't tell you what it was like, or I couldn't compare either show. But the next show I plan on being at is at the National. So anyway, guys, if you were actually at this show, let me know what you thought about it. If you picked up anything, I'd love to hear your stories, and let me know about the cards that I picked up. If you enjoy any of this stuff, or if you want to get into it, I'd love to hear your stories and hear what you have to say. So until the next time, guys, I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.